let me ask you a quick question. How would you say in English, jeśli chodzi o moje doświadczenia, jeśli chodzi o ten projekt? Try to translate these sentences. So most learners hesitate here or try to translate it word for word, but the good news is there are a few very natural ways to say this in English. And today I'll show you the most useful expressions from basic to more advanced, more formal, more business-like ones. Okay, so let's start with the most natural and most commonly used phrase. But first, as usual, let's translate this sentence, translate it yourself. Jeśli chodzi o moje doświadczenia. How would you say that in English? And obviously, that would be when it comes to my experience. And I suppose this is your go-to expression, the easiest way to say jeśli chodzi o, but avoid these two common mistakes, okay? Some people say if it comes to instead of when it comes to, okay? So beware. And mistake number 2, I sometimes hear when it comes to about my experience. So people are adding this extra about. So remember, it's just when it comes to something, okay? Okay, so one more sentence. How would you translate it? Jeśli chodzi o zarządzanie zespołem. Go ahead. And that would simply be when it comes to managing a team. So remember, if you're using a verb, you need to add this ing ending, this gerund form, right? When it comes to managing a team. And by the way, I've noticed that sometimes when people don't know what to say or they can't remember this expression when it comes to, they just start a sentence with about. For example, about my trip, or, about my homework during one-to-one classes, for example. So in this case, you either should use the expression when it comes to, so when it comes to my trip, or an expression I really use on a daily basis, I really love it, speaking of something, which can be translated as a propos, skoro mowa o. So the meaning is actually slightly different because when it comes to is used when you want to introduce a topic and, give your opinion or comment on something, okay? While speaking of something is used when you want to naturally connect to something that has just been mentioned, something we've just talked about, okay? So let's translate 2 more sentences to get the idea, okay? So the first one. Jeśli chodzi o moje doświadczenia, pracowałem z wieloma zagranicznymi klientami. Go ahead. And the answer would be, when it comes to my experience, I've worked with several international clients. And this is a beautiful sentence, by the way, that you could use during a job interview. So if they ask you, okay, what's your experience industry? And then you can say, when it comes to my experience, I've actually worked with several or many international clients, and you will be using this present perfect tense here, right? Because you will be talking about your experience so far. Okay, so when it comes to my experience, you're introducing, let's say, a new topic and you're kind of given an opinion. While, now another sentence to be translated, go ahead. A propos mojego doświadczenia, tak naprawdę dość wcześnie zaczęłam pracę w marketingu. Once again, a propos, skoro mowa o moim doświadczeniu, tak naprawdę dość wcześnie zaczęłam pracę w marketingu. Go ahead. Okay, so here we will actually be using the second phrase, speaking of. Speaking of my experience, I actually started working in marketing quite early. So as you can see, you're actually referring to something that has just been mentioned, okay? Speaking of, a propos mojego doświadczenia, skoro mowa o moim doświadczeniu, okay? Speaking of my experience. And one more interesting expression for you, whenever you want to say something like, tak a propos, then you can just say, speaking of which can be like a nice full sentence, speaking of which, okay? For example, speaking of which, have you heard they fired Kate? Speaking of which, tak a propos, okay? When you want to start a conversation, when you want to start a small talk, speaking of which, tak a propos. Okay, time for a level up. So if you want to introduce more variety, then instead of good old when it comes to, you can use the following structure. As far as something is concerned. As far as something is concerned. And this is a more formal, more business-like option. So let's try to translate the following sentence using this structure, okay? Jeśli chodzi o budżet, wszystko jest pod kontrolą. Go ahead. Jeśli chodzi o budżet, wszystko jest pod kontrolą. Okay, the correct answer would be, well, as far as the budget is concerned, everything is under control. As far as what the budget is concerned, everything is under control. Are you with me? So as far as something is or are, in the case of a plural noun, rzeczownik liczby mnogiej, then is concerned or are concerned. Okay, one more to go. Jeśli chodzi o te raporty, nie zostały one jeszcze sprawdzone. Go ahead. Jeśli chodzi o te raporty, nie zostały one jeszcze sprawdzone. As far as these reports, and remember, these reports, very often people say this reports, okay? These reports. So as far as these reports are concerned, right? We have this plural form. They haven't been reviewed or verified or checked yet. Once again, repeat after me. Well, as far as these reports are concerned, they haven't been verified yet. And of course, the second part of the sentence, well, this is passive voice used with this present perfect tense. So the reports haven't been reviewed, verified, checked yet. So I hope you can hear that it sounds truly more formal, more business-like, right? When it comes to these reports versus as far as these reports are concerned. A bit more formal. Right? And by the way, this expression can also be used whenever you want to express your opinion. So as a synonym for in my opinion. So instead of saying, well, in my opinion, something, something, then you could just say, well, as far as I'm concerned. Repeat after me. As far as I'm concerned. Example, well, as far as I'm concerned, I believe this project can be very successful. Once again, well, as far as I'm concerned, I believe this project can be very successful. Okay, the last one, and this is simply in terms of something. And this expression is usually translated as pod względem czegoś, but you can also use it when you want to say jeśli chodzi o. Example, let's translate this sentence. Jeśli chodzi o sprzedaż, wyniki są bardzo dobre. Go ahead. In terms of sales, the results are very good. So of course you could say when it comes to sales, as far as sales is concerned, or in terms of sales. Jeśli chodzi o pod względem sprzedaży, the results are very good. Okay, another one for you. Ten produkt jest doskonały pod względem jakości, czyli pod względem jakości, jeśli chodzi o jakość. Ten produkt jest doskonały pod względem jakości. Go ahead. Okay, so this product is excellent in terms of quality. This product is excellent in terms of quality. Very nice expression, especially to be used in the middle of a sentence, I would say. I use it more often in the middle of a sentence. Okay, so to sum up, in most cases, the expressions you're going to use more often are when it comes to, in this everyday English, everyday situation, small talk, right? Or speaking of. And as far as X is concerned, in more formal situations, business-like situations. And of course, if you want to say a propos czegoś, skoro mowa o czymś, use speaking of. And don't forget to use in terms of whenever you want to say pod względem czegoś. So I hope you've learned a great deal in this episode, short episode, but full of expressions, right? So let me know in the comments if you've found it useful, and don't forget to click follow if you want to be up to date with all the new episodes I record for you. Cheers!